Morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is faith. What is faith? Is it something relegated to something outside ourselves, something larger than ourselves? What is it? So today it should be an interesting exploration into faith and what it is, what its dynamics are, and how we can connect with it in order to better expand our capabilities. So before we get started, good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. And before we get started today talking about faith, let's take a couple minutes to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the pressure, the temperature, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, faith. When we say I have faith, oftentimes we're talking about something related to religion or religiosity and something greater than ourselves. I have faith that God is going to do this, that, or the other thing. Or I have faith that I have faith in you. That's a more personalized version of faith. And what I was wondering, I was contemplating is what the distinction might be between faith and trust. And, if we say I have faith that it's all going to work out, we're kind of looking at something, whatever the it is bigger than us, right? If I have faith in you, then I'm trusting you. We talk about our faith, right? Like our religion, our spiritual foundation as our faith. And it's interesting if we look at those two contexts to explore or to dive into that a little bit. So what does that mean? My faith, and I have faith in whatever. So we talk a lot about trust and trusting that all trust is self-trust ultimately. And I was going to call this morning's conversation faith and trust, but I opted just for faith. I'm not sure what the difference is between faith and trust. I trust that life is going to work out. I have faith that life is going to work out. I'm not sure what the distinction is. Maybe we could look it up. We could look it up and see what the difference in definition is between faith and trust. How awesome is it that we can just have these things at our fingertips, the distinction. or a way to find information, right? Let's see. Difference between faith and trust. Okay, so difference between faith and trust. Let's see. Okay, often used interchangeably. What's the difference? Faith and trust have similar meanings, and often people will use the words interchangeably. Even Merriam-Webster defines faith as belief and trust in and loyalty to God. For most people, there's no practical difference between faith and trust. To them, the two are synonymous. Any differences that exist are very fine. So one of the differences is grammatical. Trust can be either a noun or a verb. We can place faith in something. Good morning, April. Welcome. Great to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about faith. And what is faith? Faith is trust in something, typically something greater than ourselves, although we can express faith in another person or trust in another person. You know, I have faith that you'll keep your word. I have faith that you'll come through to the other side. I trust that you'll come through to the other side. I trust your judgment. I think it's interesting to be noticing that we refer to our religious beliefs as our faith. And so there's a body of trust associated with that. I'm just exploring this with you. I just find it really interesting to notice that when we have faith, whether it's religious or not, in something larger than ourselves, whether it be in God, whether it be in nature, whether it be in life itself, whether it be in consciousness, when we have a larger faith or a trust in something greater than ourselves, it gives us a lot of latitude and a lot of capability, I think, to be more accepting. And I don't mean complacently accepting. I mean accepting that this is what's so, and now what? When we have a faith or a trust, it can carry us through really difficult times. When we're having challenges in day-to-day life and we're operating under the notion that I have faith in something greater, I have trust that life is happening for me and through me, for example, then I can maybe become less attached to the outcome or to the immediate circumstance and be present to a longer range possibility. I guess the question that we get to ask is, how do we cultivate that faith? How do we generate that trust? And I don't know that trust or faith are necessarily earned. We talk about a leap of faith, meaning that it's not, we're stepping into or beyond perhaps the rational into an untested dimension, an untested realm perhaps. And sometimes it's earned, where we see someone's consistency. We observe that someone honors their word, and that gives us reason to trust them, perhaps. And trust and faith is always a leap in a way. It's maybe it's a projection forward into time. I'm wondering about that. Does that sound like it's accurate to you, that if we're having faith, it's kind of like that something is going to happen, unless we're steeped in the faith, we're present to our, the word surrender comes up, you know, that there's, and I hate that word, actually. I don't hate it, I just don't love that word, because I grew up with the Wizard of Oz and it's always surrender, Dorothy. So this notion of surrender is, you know, is a little bit, it's challenging. I'm challenged by it, but we're kind of giving ourselves to a belief or to a an expectation, perhaps. It's interesting to be looking at that. When I say I trust you, what does that mean? It means I trust you not just in this moment, I trust you into the future, typically, right? And with faith, I have faith that something is going to happen, or maybe I have faith that something is true, that I can trust it going forward into the future. Again, it comes, I think it's time-based somehow. So April says we exchange something with faith in order to gain it. Example, we set aside fear in order to let faith move in. That's beautiful, April. So in setting aside fear, we are making a leap of faith, right? To actively exchange. I love that we're exchanging something in order to receive faith, or to be to experience faith. So maybe it's an interesting notion that faith is a result of an exchange, as is trust, I guess, because I mean, I'm not really finding much of a distinction between the two, other than that faith is often used more in a religious context. But when we choose to trust and when we choose to have faith, I think you're right that we are setting aside doubt, we're setting aside fear, and that's an act of generosity. I think it's an act of giving, like you said, April. It's an exchange. I'm giving over my fear, or I'm relinquishing my fear in order to, in exchange for faith. Interesting. That's a very interesting distinction. So I guess the question is, where do we choose to put our faith? I think that Rosalind says leap of faith, as if there's an athletic, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't say athletic, you said etheric. Leap of faith, as if there's an etheric bridge to connect to. Yes. I'm reminded of one of the Indiana Jones scenes where there's this place that they need to get from here to there, and there's no way to do that, and then stepping out into the nothing, and as they're stepping out into the nothing, this invisible bridge appears. So maybe that's the image of faith. But in these cases where we're stepping into the unknown, what is going on inside of us that allows us to make that step? So many times with healer people, I've heard people be very, very disappointed and upset about betrayals that they've experienced, myself included. I've had this happen, which was a really good learning lesson for me, for sure, where you have a sense about someone and you don't trust it. There we go, trust. You don't allow yourself to know what you know, and then push past to try and give somebody the benefit of the doubt, for example. And then in the end, the person comes back and bites you in the way that you had an intuition about from the very beginning. And so people often feel like their trust was betrayed. I trusted you and you did me wrong. But the thing is that we didn't trust ourselves. We didn't trust our own knowing. We defied our own intuition and betrayed our own trust in those circumstances. And usually, it's so interesting. Usually, when people are feeling victimized in this kind of scenario that I'm talking about, and certainly it doesn't cross all situations by any means, but in the situation that I'm talking about, people knew in the beginning, people knew from the outset, and they ignored that feeling, that bad feeling that was just warning them off, but they didn't pay attention because they wanted to give somebody else the benefit of the doubt. And it's interesting. I've had that happen for myself as well, more than once, which has now allowed me through those difficult lessons to have a greater willingness to pay attention to my gut feeling and go the other way. Like, danger, danger, Will Robinson. That's a reference there. I don't know if you all you all are old enough to remember Lost in Space, but there was this robot. These folks were stranded on another planet, and there was a robot that would sense danger, and it would say, danger, danger, Will Robinson. And Will Robinson was the kid that was part of the family, the Robinson family, like Robinson Crusoe, but on another planet. Anyway, we have those danger signals, and we choose to ignore them in many, many instances, and then fall prey to foul play of one sort or another. And in those instances, it's an opportunity for us to remember to listen. You know, hopefully it's not a devastating scenario that you need to be able to learn the lesson. The thing is that if you keep ignoring it, the consequences get worse and worse over time, for sure. So trust and faith. There are many benefits to having faith, particularly, so Rosalind says, intuition different from trust and faith. Well, we get to pay attention to our intuition. You know, if we can start to trust our intuition, then they're connected, maybe not the same, but connected. So Rosalind says, I don't have to know the mechanics of how it all works, as if faith is used to encompass something bigger that is overarching. So if I have faith, I don't have to I don't have to know how it all works. I can have faith in it, that it's all working as it should be. So I personally, I think it's profoundly valuable to cultivate a faith in life. Or it has been for me. So whether it's a faith in God or a faith in life or consciousness, as whatever it is, to have a faith in the greater workings of things, as you said, Rosalind, something bigger that's overarching, there's such relief in that, because I don't have to figure it out anymore. Then I can leave it to life. I can leave it to life to unfold in the way that it does. And I can be part of that unfolding and play my role in that unfolding without having to try to control what I can't possibly control anyway. There's a relief. There's a relief in giving over the responsibility. There's a relief in letting go of the fear to allow ourselves to be held in that faith or by that greater power, whatever it is, or within that greater context, whatever it is, like allowing things to unfold in their perfection. So it's such an interesting thing that we do, because we believe ourselves to be rational beings, right? And we tend to believe that faith is not rational, and probably it isn't, and probably we aren't. I think we are as intuitive and emotional as we are rational, or more so. And I think it's time that we started to honor these other dimensions of our being that have their own rich intelligence to them as well. So I guess if we're looking for tools for living, trust is a really important part. And I don't mean blind trust. I don't mean willful denial as trust, for example. I mean a connectedness. There's the fact of the matter is, and we can prove this from all different dimensions, scientific and otherwise, is that we're all connected, and that the universe is all interconnected, and that there's something much bigger than what we're able to perceive going on here, you know, just in terms of intelligence and communication and capability. There's a vast world that is probably quite a lot greater than what we are able to perceive. And maybe we get to trust that we're playing our proper role within that. When we trust that we are the perfect expression of ourselves, that we are here expressing life through us. Life is expressing itself through us, for example, and through our unique vessel. There's a tremendous freedom and relief to be had in that. And so finding that place of trust and communion is a wonderful tool for living. And at least in my experience, it's made such a profound difference. And when we lose that connection, maybe faith and trust is like a deep connection, oneness, unity, perhaps. April says a release of control. See, the thing is that the control is an illusion to begin with. And so when we let go of control, it's such a relief. It's such a relief when we can just sort of give that over to something else. And it doesn't mean we're being irresponsible. It means that instead of trying to orchestrate everything, we become a servant of that orchestration. And serving serving that energy of consciousness, of God or whatever. So there's a huge relief to be had in it. And I think that it gives us an ability to have a richer expression, a richer and more authentic expression of ourselves, ironically. It looks like or paradoxically rather. But anyway, that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel at 9 a.m. I think I said at 9 a.m. Eastern. And as I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And as always, it is such a pleasure and a deep privilege to be able to spend this time with you and engage together in these inquiries. We get to examine life and hopefully thereby enrich it. So until next time, so much love to you.